Today we're going to talk about Mystic Forest for the iPad. Mystic Forest is an okay concept, has decent graphics and audio, but it really suffers from two fundamental problems. And that is the gameplay interface and the feedback that the player receives. So we're going to show how these two problems really fundamentally destroy the Mystic Forest experience. Mystic Forest is a fairly standard side-scroller type game with a D-pad touch type interface. And I want to talk a bit first about the feedback mechanisms in this game. This game really suffers from a lack of good feedback. The first thing we're going to see here is an interaction where obviously the player did something important and picked up a gem, and yet nothing changed in the interface. There's no points, there's no score, there's nothing that changed visibly about the interface at all. As we proceed further, we're going to see that many opportunities for giving player feedback are really lost here. At this point, the player is interacting with some sort of slowdown mechanism, but the feedback is really bad. It doesn't really indicate, is it hurting you, is it not hurting you? And we see later as we go forward, this turns out to be a real problem because the game does not establish a feedback interface for the player. Here we see that the player is interacting with some sort of plant. And at this point in the game, I was trying to walk past the plant only to realize I eventually can't walk past it. So I try to jump over it, to duck under it, to try to use spells to get past it. And there's really nothing in the interface that sort of tells me, no, you shouldn't be walking past this. The plant is trying to eat you. Eventually my health is so low and I just die. This game makes a lot of use of subtle feedback, which is really the same as saying it doesn't provide feedback at all. So if you notice while you're playing the game, you get these little dinging sounds whenever you walk over certain types of plants. And it took me a long time to realize that this is what was happening. And when these situations occur, you can then collect the blue gem, and I assume other colored gems later on, to get some sort of effect. So now I want to talk about Mystic Forest's interface, their gameplay interface. This is really where the game suffers dramatically. It uses a standard D touchpad interface, and unfortunately it's done very sloppy. The controls are very clunky. You'll see in these next few clips as I play that I'm trying to interact or move or duck and do the different activities, and while I'm doing them the control drops off, the player loses their mechanic movers, and as you're interfacing with the game you're trying to do things, and now you end up paying attention to the interface. The interface should be very seamless, very smooth, and easy to control so that the player can focus on the game itself. Every time that I'm using this interface and I find that my finger has missed the control, that I've missed the movement that I want, that I've ducked when I haven't meant to, that I've jumped when I didn't mean to, every time that this happens it breaks my flow. When I'm getting hit, and I'm supposed to get hit, that's okay. But if the game itself is causing me to be frustrated because of the interface, that makes the game extremely difficult and completely breaks my interest. In this next section, we're going to see a combination of both bad feedback and the clunky interface. And this is about the point where the player gives up. So here we see I've jumped, I've finally been able to bounce on top of this thing, and I thought that I jumped over this little vine. And I'll keep trying again and again to get over this vine. It sure looks like I'm past this vine, but the interface combined with the bad feedback makes it very unclear. Am I supposed to jump this vine? And so the player's going to keep trying and trying and trying, thinking that they're not doing it right. In this final clip, we're going to see examples of how the interface just becomes frustrating to do the simplest things. So here I'm going to try to climb this vine. And you'll see that I try to struggle, and then I'm trying to push to the right, but it ends up going down, and then I get stuck on the top, and I can't get up. And by the time I finally figure it out, the vine goes ahead and deletes itself, and I fall down. Eventually, I do make it up this. But the first time I played it, it was very frustrating, and not from a challenging gameplay, but just from a bad interface experience. And as a player, I knew it was bad. So that concludes this review of Mystic Forest. It's unfortunate that these two major flaws, the gameplay interface and the feedback mechanism, really do destroy this experience. whatever the gems and wonderful elements of creativity are in this, nobody's ever going to see, because they're just going to delete it.